And we're live.
This is Plant Daddy Podcast, serving you intersectional horticulture. I'm Matthew.
And I'm Steven.
Hello, welcome back, and thank you for listening. Today, we're going to do something that's a little bit different from our earlier episodes. So we have our very first guest who is not a white male, and our first guest who does not identify as a gay white male. So
Wow,
this is Emma.
Hi, guys.
Emma, tell us a little bit about
She can
yourself.
speak for everyone else. Right?
Yeah, that's true.
Absolutely.
You are now
everyone.
representing the diversity of our listeners.
No pressure.
So tell us a little bit about, first of all, do you identify as like a plant person?
I'm gonna have to go with the no on that.
Okay.
I appreciate plants a lot, and I struggle deeply to keep them alive.
That's great. Okay. And
I think that's most people's struggle.
This is a safe zone for sure.
Yeah, you don't have to
Yeah.
be a plant daddy to be on this podcast.
Great.
And
well
this-
then.
And then we're also both thinking, we're like, oh, we can give her some plants, when we have cuttings. So
Yeah.
you're screwed.
Yeah.
That sounds amazing.
Yeah. Is there anything specific that you have grown in the past that you have particularly liked or enjoyed?
That's a good
So,
question.
yeah, or is there anything you're struggling with now to keep alive?
So I think a lot of these questions come back to the issue that I don't know how to call anything. Like, I don't know the names of
Totally.
stuff.
Okay.
Yeah.
So Fred the plant.
I don't even, it's like that thing in like the broken teacup over there.
Hey,
Okay.
and that's
As-
totally where I started, like with that plant back there that we've talked about like 10 times. That's this IKEA plant that I would be like, oh, well, do I water it or not? All right, I'm going to leave for 3 weeks. And it was kind of like, well, now I kind of want it to die. Like we had that kind of relationship where I'm like, but then it survived and now I'm like, okay, you get a table. I'm like, you earned it.
Yeah. It's Dracaena margins, or
I
marginata.
only know that because you've said it here.
Yeah, that's true.
So, yeah.
Yeah. I have like, one of my roommates has a spider plant in our bathroom, and it is the saddest spider plant
That's the
in the
lie.
whole world.
Yeah.
But I have like cut the like baby spiders off of it, and then it makes very happy babies.
Well, that's
which
good.
is great. So
Yeah.
then I have taken to giving those to people for birthday presents because I'm a cheap asshole.
That's a really great way to repurpose a dying plant.
But that's actually, yeah, and I think that's something people like.
The spider plant that I have was gifted to me from like
Yeah.
the exact same scenario, and it's a wonderful plant. So okay, we have identified the level of plantness that happens in your life. Just tell us a little bit about yourself, though, as a human being.
Oh gosh.
So you guys know each other from work, right?
Yes.
Oh yeah, so let me actually back up and give some context. Emma and I work together, and gosh, it's been a number of years now. And one day we were just chatting about this podcast. She's got some friends who have a podcast, which actually I've been binging. It's 24 frames per second. Yeah, she recommended what we're going to be doing on today's episode. So we've asked her very kindly to come here. But because this is like more of a social connection, like I just wanted our listeners to know a little bit about like who came up with the idea for today's topic.
Sure. So yeah, my name's Emma. I've been living in Seattle for about 5 years now. I work in public health research with Matthew, and I really like the outdoors. Like to hike and row and run and ski. And
you obviously like Judi Dench.
I love Judi
Right.
Dench.
So tell us about the idea for this episode.
I have no idea where I came across this piece of media. We were discussing this earlier. I cannot remember at all. But I somehow came across this documentary about Judi Dench's passion for trees. And she has this like old English estate somewhere in the countryside.
Oh, wow.
And she just loves trees and is really dedicated to learning more about like the lives of trees.
Okay.
And made a BBC documentary about it. And it sounds like everything that I love put together.
So we're gonna watch this documentary in a little bit.
Yeah.
And
We're just gonna kind of hit pause and have some drinks, maybe, and then react.
I think this is gonna be a really joyful, charming experience. And I really hope that this is what Judi Dench is known for when she is no longer on this planet, because
and
it can't be cats.
Yeah, not cats.
Oh
Yeah.
no!
Okay,
Did that happen?
Oh yeah.
terrible-
Oh my gosh. So Emma doesn't apparently know that.
I've been trying to block that out
Yeah.
very strongly.
Let's focus on the trees tonight.
So
okay?
we
Like,
came up
this
with the
is-
concept for this episode before the Cats trailer came out.
Because we wouldn't have.
Yeah, and-
Okay, had we known.
No, we're doing damage control on Judy's reputation right
Yeah.
now.
Yeah, we are helping to recover it.
And this is like a canoe, up Niagara Falls. Okay, if that trailer is to be believed.
We might actually make Emma watch the trailer for it before we
no.
come back.
I'm gonna need another glass of rosé
Yeah,
if that's gonna
okay.
happen.
There's some more. Okay, so on that note, we're gonna go fortify ourselves and immerse ourselves in Judi Dench's passion for trees.
All right?
Yay!
All right, we'll be back in just a moment.
Okay, and we're back.
Okay, so we just had a real good time watching Judi Dench and some
Dame
trees.
Judi.
Dame Judi. She definitely deserves that respectful title after the work that she put into this documentary. We also drank all the rest of the rosé. So, Emma, what did you think?
I loved it.
Yeah.
To put it simply, it was very soothing. I feel much more centered.
So soothing.
Yeah. Okay, so
God.
before we really dive into dissecting this and we completely lose track of what we're doing, I just want to remind everybody that we can be found on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, and Pinterest at Plant Daddy Podcast, and also online at plantdaddypodcast.com. You can contact us by email at plantdaddypodcast@gmail.com. And so if you enjoy these episodes, please don't forget to rate and subscribe, do all those things that help us reach new listeners.
I'm so impressed you remembered that. Any of that.
It's
right
literally
now.
written down for me.
Okay, Judi Dench has been whispering us to us softly, for an hour now.
Yeah. It was only 1 hour.
Whispering softly, but also with exclamations of glee intermittently.
Quiet ones.
Yeah. So
I'm sorry, Stephen. Did you want to give it to me?
Yeah.
yeah, this is an audio medium, so
Okay. Yeah.
okay, so I want to give you a bit of description of kind of what the cinematography and general experience is. It's Judi Dench wandering around in a whole bunch of different gardens, some of which are hers on her estate, and some of them are in the Kensington Garden, and she visits some
Graveyards.
churches and graveyards.
Yeah, I would say she pretty much stayed home when, sometimes she had to leave to see a certain, listen to a certain tree.
Yeah,
Right? But otherwise she stayed home, I thought.
Yeah, most of it was on her property. The thing that caught us off guard, from
Yes.
the get-go,
Was the massive Hall of the Dead, right? That
Yeah.
she had with name tags.
So tell us about it, Emma.
So, Dame Judi plants a tree for all of her friends that die.
And this includes her grandson Sammy, her friend Natasha Richardson, her husband.
A different Richardson of no relation, but who are adjacent in the plot, which we're not quite sure about.
Yeah.
But Dame Judi is of a certain age, let's say, and
83.
so 83. I googled it earlier, but so she has a lot of dead friends,
Yeah.
and
She has a whole
consequently
forest.
a lot of trees.
Yeah. And I don't know, there was a little bit of morbidity to seeing that Sammy, her grandson, is a pretty big maple or oak tree. Yeah, he's a pretty big oak tree with a caterpillar problem.
And we don't want Sammy the oak to come to that same fate that Sammy the grandchild did.
Which we don't think that
We
he was
don't-
eaten by caterpillars. We have no idea what that
We
was.
But for Sammy the Tree, I think right now it's touch and go, right?
Well,
I
she
mean-
kind of phrased it that way, but from the conversation they had around this was that the oak tree is able to use biochemical signaling
Yeah.
in order to deter caterpillars from eating its leaves, which they're gonna do. They didn't really like do anything about
And
it.
there was a Russian lady with
Yeah.
a very fancy technological tool of some sort who was measuring these signals in the surrounding leaves.
Measuring the tree breathing.
Yeah,
right?
like,
the leaves breathing.
She was able to show that leaves that were not being eaten by caterpillars, but which were close to caterpillars, were responding to it in order to be less palatable.
Which was great.
Well, okay, yeah.
I don't know, what were we supposed to feel?
Well, we also
Like, oh.
met a tree that I think was also an oak that was over 200 years old, or about 200 years old.
Yeah.
They seriously measured its age by wrapping yarn around it and then measuring it against, like, this random British man's arm.
Yeah, and then being like, oh, this is not to my arm, it's 18 inches? And she didn't... Looked like she didn't quite believe him.
And then they multiplied a bunch of numbers on the iPhone calculator.
Kind of a dirty phone.
Yeah. And then they were like, it's 198 years old.
Yeah.
And she was like, that's just marvelous.
I would say there's...
Wait.
Oh,
What did she say?
Yeah. That's...
I loved learning that.
Yeah, it was like, what an amazing thing to learn.
That-
like,
yes.
it was something really magical. She spent so much of this documentary reacting in these extremely small British ways that...
Like deep wonderment.
Yeah, like she was overcome regularly, but there was almost no outward signal of it unless you were, like well versed in watching British things.
Which I dare say we all are.
Now, I have to say, I didn't really learn anything from this documentary.
I do think it felt like...
I did.
Really?
Tell us...
The 12 kilometers of branches in that oak tree,
Okay.
I felt were really impressive.
They were
Yeah.
impressive, but I'm just going to challenge you. We didn't learn anything about trees.
Like, generally about trees.
We found out that this one tree, the 200-year-old one that they measured with yarn, had over 12 kilometers of trees.
Okay, well, I will say, I did not
in
know...
3 tennis courts worth of leaf area.
Yeah, I don't remember
I
how
thought
many...
that was actually a low estimate.
Yeah,
I was
I
surprised
felt
by
like,
that.
there would be more too.
I was wondering, like, how deep are these leaves? Is it just the surface area?
Yeah, it's just surface area.
Okay.
You
They
know,
also talked about how much carbon it was sequestering.
25,000 pounds.
Yeah.
No, 25,000 tons.
Tons, yeah.
Oh, really?
And
I
Judi
didn't
was
know that.
just so proud of that tree.
She, in fact, said, I am so proud
Yeah.
of this tree.
So I did not know about the ladybug signaling. Did you guys know about that?
Okay, so I knew a little bit about this, but Steven's right. This is something that I learned.
This is like kind of the one fact that sticks out, though. The
Yeah.
rest of it's like, I didn't know about Judy's property. The rest
So-
of it's like,
A few episodes ago, I discussed how aphids are parthenogenic and the females can give live birth to genetic replicas of themselves. They showed this to us at least 3 times. So we got to see ladybugs birthing their babies.
No. Aphid.
Aphid, you're right.
yeah.
Yeah.
It's
Ladybugs. Yeah. Like I said, we've enjoyed the rosé.
Yeah.
So the aphids, when they're munching on the plant sends... They, like, digitally illustrated a red cloud.
And they said it was a fragrance.
Well,
Yeah, I
it's like
think-
a pheromone.
It was a pheromone
Okay.
that's released, and I think they just colored it so that we could, like, visualize. Because the point is that it's not...
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's not
she's like,
perceptible
hey, they made me a graphic.
Yeah.
She called that out.
Yeah.
They were
And-
making her a lot of graphics on an iPad, and it felt very kind of like Weekends with Grandma a little bit.
But it was so
like
cute.
Grandma loves iPad. It was great.
Yeah.
I'm just saying that's the feel of it. I was like, okay, Grandma's seeing the graphic.
Yeah, and so when Grandma saw the graphic, which really illustrated the point nicely, it showed
did,
us
yeah.
how pheromones may drift out of a tree on the wind and catch the nose of a ladybug. And then it showed us some ladybugs eating aphids
Yeah.
to show that...
Very gratifying.
Graphic.
Yeah.
Graphic violence.
So she was just saying that trees are able to communicate with one another and they're beneficial, like symbiotic insect friends?
Yeah.
Partners. They're
Oh.
symbiotic partners.
Well, they set this up, right? Well, like, oh, there's some bad insects coming or something like that.
Yeah.
And they're like, oh, well, they also attract good ones.
Yeah.
Like, I was thinking about the pace and sort of the the journey here. They gave us seasons.
Well, the journey was winter to winter.
And they gave us the seasons, but then I'm kind of like, beyond that, I mean, you're just wandering around with Judi Dench. I mean...
Which is like, your face says disappointment. My heart says everything.
See,
that I
I'm
wanted.
not sure how to feel. I think I came into this thinking like, oh, you know what? I'm going to learn something interesting. I'm like, oh, Judi Dench. I'm thinking like a certain density. I'm thinking, right, with her. But this is really just like Weekend Judi.
Well,
Weekend Judy's just hanging. She's 80 something.
I need to reframe this for Steven.
I don't dislike it. I'm just kind of like, all right, it's not what I thought. This was not necessarily fact dense. It was like a Judi Dench screensaver a little bit.
This was not an episode that I wrote. That's for sure. Like with the fact density.
Yeah.
So what Steven, I think, needs to change how he's viewing this.
Wow.
This isn't a documentary about trees. This is a documentary about Judi Dench loving trees.
It's Judy's passion for trees.
Yeah, like it was there in the title.
Of the documentary.
Okay, I'm not disliking it, you guys, okay?
No, I
just
know.
I'm not participating in your blind Judy worship.
Well,
Okay,
I just found it really charming.
I'm keeping Judy honest. Right?
We got to
and
watch...
you're her yes men or something.
I just love that we got to watch like this 83-year-old woman go around with various extremely British looking, exclusively like just kind of wizened looking garden people. And
very like sort of off-duty wizards kind of people to me, right? Like a lot of layers, a lot of kind of like unkempt things.
not
scientisty
like
people.
Great muggles.
Or these were not like people chosen for the look or something, and that's actually
no. I actually
Which is what I like
disagree.
about
I
British,
think they
so.
were chosen for their
Yes.
look. I think that they were chosen
You're supposed to
specifically because they were deeply British.
Yes,
yeah,
actually,
which means
that's-
entirely Anglo-Saxon.
Yeah, and
And on that like
not-
NHS dental plan because
not very distant cousins.
I never noticed Judi Dench's teeth before I watched
never
this.
either. I really
And by
wonder.
teeth, I mean that one particular one.
see, I actually noticed
See, that makes me wonder, has she like had other teeth in the movies?
I don't.
I don't.
But she's
that doesn't
usually
make any
a very
sense. But
stern
I've never
dame.
noticed.
I don't think that we usually experience Judi with the amount of like mirth and joy that we did during this
when
documentary.
she's visiting Mike, who's a tree.
Yeah.
It's actually
Mike is
my
a tree.
oak, but
Yeah,
Matthew couldn't discern the accent
we were
and
mishearing
thought
a
it was
lot.
Mike.
We were mishearing a lot of words in this, and in fairness,
I am going to share a pronunciation that we have never heard before. The word insulate, they said insulate. Can you do it
did
better?
they say it?
Insulate.
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 Yeah.
It was like, it was like there was the word chill
And I
was
mean,
in it.
you got
Yeah.
it in context, right?
Insulate.
But it was remarkable. Yeah,
Yeah.
I've never heard that.
And Rhodia.
Yeah, which I thought was like some little like plankton-y thing, like rhodia.
And
But it
I
actually
thought it
was
was
roe deer.
a mispronunciation of rodent.
And I knew it was deer, but I can't remember. Like, maybe I read something recently where I had to like look this up, or something like that. Like, it's not. I mean, my mom didn't call them roe deer like growing up. It's not like that, but.
I think
yeah,
that's
there
a
were
really
couple other
British thing.
things.
Like, we don't have roe deer.
No, we have mule deer.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Left
so she was stepping inside of ancient yews.
Yeah,
She
so
was measuring
We
with
saw the
yarn.
tree that Voldemort's wand was from.
You know what? She was
Yeah.
digging. She was digging too. She did a
she
lot
did.
of. She
Yeah.
did some activities.
But I want to go back to Voldemort's wand. So the yew tree they talked about, it is what, 150 million years old or something?
The species.
Yeah,
species,
yeah, not
yeah.
this
I
particular
miss-
individual. We did have to clarify that for Steven because
I thought they were claiming that. I was like, okay, listen, we need to fact check this.
and this makes
thing
sense
for Judi.
The way that they stated it was like, this is Britain's oldest conifer, and so Stephen thought that the individual that they were looking at was, in fact, the
Listen,
oldest
I never
individual.
thought they were. Yeah, I never thought that. I thought they were saying it just
Yeah.
for super clarity. And I'm kind of like, okay, listen, I know because I heard that story about the person who chopped down the Morpheus tree, right? Because he got that tool stuck in it. Like that was something I was Wikipediaing like a
We
couple
actually need
years
to come
ago.
back to this in a minute.
Yeah.
But so the yew is one of 3 native British conifers, and it's the oldest of the 3. and it is typically used as like a foundation ornamental plant. And there's actually like several growing on my block. Like you'll see them everywhere. And they're really beautiful, and they grow through the winter because she was actually somebody was explaining to her that their sap can sustain temperatures down to like -30, and that might have been Celsius.
Sure it
The
was.
crossover point is at around -35, so it doesn't really matter.
Oh, well, so this is
good.
irrelevant.
We're just gonna have you here from now on.
Yeah,
Just really good at unit conversions, guys.
Perfect.
Emma's our scientist.
Conversions.
Yeah, but she was talking about how they look really beautiful in the winter because they're able to grow throughout it, and that you'll often find them growing in cemeteries. And I know from reading Agatha Christie when I was growing up that there's a lot of association with like death, and I believe that the yew is actually quite toxic as well. So
yeah, it's always said, right? Like horses can't eat them, etc.
yeah, like that would support the toxic claim, I suppose. But that's also why J.K. Rowling used the yew tree as the wood from which Voldemort's wand was made. And Emma identified the yew tree that we saw, and in fact that they climbed inside of, as like the tree because, I mean, obviously we
It was
looked
just
at
very
it.
sinister.
Yeah, this tree was like huge, and like all of its branches were kind of hanging down around it.
And wait, was this from the movie? I'm kind of
No,
like
this
Oh,
is
no, no,
just
no.
from my personal...
Harry Potter
Yeah.
agnostic here a little bit. Okay.
Yeah, this is Emma and me being of the generation that was like really into Harry Potter that you
Okay.
just barely
Yeah.
missed. Yeah, but so like obviously that was the tree. We're gonna stick with this, and this is just our truth now.
But also, what I thought was interesting from my like human anthropologist brain was that yew trees in the UK are associated with churchyards, and so people tend to think that yew trees were planted next to churches, but it's actually the other way around, that these trees were worshipped by the Druids and by other native peoples of the UK, and that the Christians put their churches nearby in order to like blend those spaces of worship, which I thought was really cool.
That's kind of like the classic story, like
Yeah, it's like Christmas and Easter and everything else.
Yeah.
yep, anything that we can take from the pagans and reuse it as Christianity is good. It's just like how in Peru they tore down the monuments and made them into cathedrals. Yeah.
Indeed.
Yeah, so actually there was another point that we just learned. That was a good one.
Yeah.
So they also talked about the beneficial relationship between the fungi, which I am now going to have to call them that instead of fungi.
Call
See-
them that.
Yeah.
I heard a little bit, there was a little, I didn't hear quite the "gi." I thought that there was a little bit, almost an A to it, so I was hearing it much more of like, the fungi.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
I think it depended on who said it.
Yeah, I think that's true. I think that it was maybe a little bit more like Scottish.
But there was...
I think,
Yeah.
We were at that point kind of talking over them as well, right?
Well, there wasn't much
Saying
to learn. It was
how-
just, we could look up and
There were a lot of
enjoy-
graphics that were made for her for that portion as well, I think, right?
Well, she was
She was
just, like,
watching
a
lot of
She
graphics.
had her like her matronly lady friend who was like rolling logs for her.
Yeah, so we kind of
That was
got...
not a euphemism.
I feel like she was injured.
We got a little bit
Like, she was not
distracted.
a strong-looking lady, but
This very frail lady who was clearly like 30 years younger than Judi Dench
so...
was walking
70.
around the woods. No, she's like 83. They were looking at how the mycelia of fungi.
Listen, we're
edit
editing
this.
all of this.
They were talking about how they create this network surrounding the roots. Like they'll actually grow covering the roots like a sock, they pointed out.
Like,
Which
they
was,
said that?
I don't know, that was gross
It's
to me,
kinda
but they did say that.
strange. Yeah.
Yeah, but trees can apparently communicate through these amongst each other in a forest, and they didn't really say what they were communicating, and this just reminds me of the movie The Happening, when the trees all get together to kill people because we're like destroying bees with our cell phones.
Ooh, missed that one.
Oh, that'll be our next movie. Okay.
What I think you should do is just listen to 24 Flames Per Second, because they do an episode about this that talked about every problem that I had with the movie when I saw it at the cinema. That was a wasted $14.50. Yeah. But yeah, so they were going around the woods, and this other lady who wasn't Judi Dench rolls a log over, and everywhere that Judi went, everyone that she was with was like holding her arm, like they were supporting her up. And so we were just delighted by this little recurring thing.
Yeah, I read that as like, oh, she's a cuddler. That's why I took that. Because really, the rest of this movie, she's like talking, she's cooing, kind of. You know what I mean? And I was just like, oh gosh, this is the soft, like, at-home Judi wearing fluffy scarves and wearing dad coats. And
Yeah.
So
I think you guys are probably right. Okay,
I feel like there's like a little bit
but that's how I saw it at first. I'm like,
happening
oh.
here.
Yeah.
I feel like that you're in like a soft and tender space.
I really am.
And the
okay,
Judi's
3
meeting
drinks
there.
in. Yeah.
Yeah.
Actually,
Also, I think that like maybe your dad has a Judi Dench coat. And not the other way around. Because
Judi
I have
Dench
to
has
say
been around much
that
longer.
like my grandmother also wears that coat.
She got that coat first. You're so right.
So I think
That coat was
you
purchased in
can just like
1947.
join the lesbian dads club. It's
Wow.
fine.
Yeah, we were previously discussing how Emma's dad is a known lesbian.
Okay, I'm just gonna.
We can edit this.
I'm gonna go to my room and lay down for a while.
And then I will finish this up
Yeah,
without you,
I'll just
Steven.
reappear in a couple minutes.
Yeah. Yeah, but overall, I thought that the intrinsic charm of this, like what I would recommend about this, is that it's really endearing to watch somebody who is so into something, but like maybe doesn't have a lot of data or information or like knowledge about it.
So is this for Judi Dench people? Or is it for learning about trees?
It's not for learning about
You know what I
trees.
mean?
I would say it's about neither of these things.
It's about my dad, right?
Potentially. I would say that it's about wonder.
Yes.
And I think that what I found so delightful about it is that Dame Judi is generally portrayed in the media as this like very stern, self-possessed, like
powerful
hard
older
British
woman
lady.
kind of thing. To
Exactly.
At least from like
And-
an American perspective, I
Yes.
see her as being like kind of an unformidable force.
Yeah, it's like Dame Judi and Maggie Smith are just there to like
be the
rule the
bosses.
world.
Yeah.
And
Literally nobody doesn't like either of them.
yeah,
Yeah.
they're just delights. But like delights that you're a little bit afraid of.
Right.
And so what I thought was so lovely was just this experience of seeing like childlike wonder through the eyes of someone who's 83 years old and someone who is like humble enough to experience her backyard in this very fresh way and to be really taken by the magical giants that live there.
Yeah.
That's a
what she
really
calls
beautiful
them.
way of seeing that.
It
I
was-
totally
it was-
agree.
It was intimate and vulnerable, right? Like, I feel like I know her 8 times, more than I thought I did or whatever.
Yeah.
Well, and so from like a landscape architecture standpoint, her garden was like nothing.
And
like-
it was a forest.
Yeah, but it was like a forest that nobody
passion forest.
intentionally planted.
Yeah.
It in the end of it, I don't know if she like just didn't have an oak tree or what, but 2 of the guys who were through most of the documentary with her, who worked on this for a year with her, they gave her a gift of an oak tree and a yew tree because she specifically earlier talked about how she didn't have
I didn't
a
put
yew.
that together. I was more like, okay, who died? But then they didn't say anything.
I was with you. I was not
But then they
listening.
didn't. Then they
Through the
didn't say
production
anything. So I'm
guys.
kind of like, all right.
I thought there was like a grisly double murder.
There was a tree named Steven, and we were like,
Oh,
yeah,
and
Steven.
the camera lingered on it.
Yeah.
It really did. It wasn't like a flash.
But then it went to like Mike
Yeah.
and Sam.
I mean, there's got to be a lot of mics.
Back to Sammy.
Yeah, although there's also a lot of Stevens.
Thanks.
You're
I
welcome.
think it was this one though.
You know what?
Yeah.
You're in charge of the segue now.
Okay. Well, I am going to manage that segue. Which actually I'm not there yet. But what I thought was my highlight was when they brought up this like really weird listening device. It was like aluminum cone.
It was like one of the old school things they used to listen to pregnant ladies' bellies.
Well, that's
Yeah,
yes.
yeah.
Or to me, I was like, oh, this is used to like irrigate something, like pour hot water in your ear or something
Yeah.
weird. And I was just like, well, I'm like, okay, I know it's not going to happen, but it definitely looked like a medical device.
But just the magic and wonder on Dame Judy's face when she got to listen to like this kind of thumping, pulsing rhythm of the tree's biology and the popping of water as it moved through the capillaries, like directly underneath the bark to get to the leaves. Like, she was overcome. Like, that was really cool. I thought that was a really wonderful moment, and I just kind of thought about my own grandmother and stuff.
And listen, like, I don't want to be the only person who is giving this some skeptical sort of criticism here, right? But
welcome.
she's an amazing actress, okay? Every time you're like, oh, look, she's really... And I'm like, hey, well, she's great at that.
Okay,
she's
well,
great at that.
you know, we did get
she
to
can
see...
do this for 8 more hours.
Yeah, we did get to see how good of an actress she is because she repeatedly would just like kind of sit there peacefully just saying William Shakespeare sonnets.
Like,
to be
in a
fair,
conversation.
It was
amazing.
to connote the changing of season.
Oh, and it was great.
It like brought us to the next phase of the year.
Like, that's, of all this stuff, I'm glad, like, that was recorded, kind of. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, that's, like, I think, the treasure part of this a little bit, like, artistically.
I think that was one of the more successful elements, which there weren't many, and they weren't really trying to do anything too, like, out-of-the-box creative or original.
Yeah, I mean, it was light.
Yeah.
I think this was, like, a light piece.
But, like, Emma pointed out that she made it sound like language you could understand.
Oh, my God. She was just talking to us, and then I'm like, wait, what?
Oh, this is Shakespeare.
That is
Like,
Shakespeare.
and I'm like, yeah, halfway through, I'm kind of like, holy crap.
But they actually talked to a Shakespeare historian who I guess is also interested in plants. She was probably the youngest person in the thing. And she was...
By youngest, like 53.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But still, like, a good couple of decades younger than most of the other people. Except for maybe some of those men whose age you could not tell. But
Yeah.
what this woman was talking about was the way that Shakespeare was unique among English writers because he came from kind of a rural upbringing. And so then when he moved into like the city urban London scene, he was able to bring so much more nature and a description around like the wildlife and specifically trees that gave like this really naturalistic element to his work that you just don't really get through most other British writers of that time.
Yeah, and they were looking at these ancient arbor glyphs, right?
Yeah,
Did
which
they call
is-
them that? Like, it was like...
An arbor glyph is when you carve
know.
your initials into a tree, which we learned from Shakespeare Lady that they go away over time.
I actually didn't know that, yeah.
I mean, I guess it makes sense that the bark
I
would
just thought,
eventually like
yeah, but...
Yeah. If it doesn't like open them up to pestilence and then die.
yeah, which hopefully the tree has like a chemical signal that it can put out into the air
Call
too.
some ladybugs or something, right?
Yeah.
They can come sit on it.
Yeah,
Grow a burl.
Yeah.
yeah. I have to say we did spend quite a lot of time talking about Dame Judi Dench's like identity as a potential like lesbian leaning person though. There was a lot of subtext that maybe we were just looking into. But there
Yeah,
were
and
some
I
really
think-
sweet looks with other women that were quaint.
I think that's my fault.
Well, and
Well,
honestly, I think it was just being vulnerable. It's being, maybe older and not giving a shit, right? I didn't see it as honestly that. I would be it's kind of like jokey or something. But
yeah.
you guys actually did?
Oh, and I'm actually kidding. No,
I'm like,
Maybe
wow.
I'm just like wishfully sitting here by myself.
I mean,
Yeah.
but just I don't know, like women that age, their winter wear. I mean,
everyone was wearing
kind of looks like they're wearing
unisex
vests and-
clothing.
Yeah, it's
They're British.
That's
they
true.
all just borrowed her clothes, maybe.
Probably
has a lot.
She's quite a bit shorter than most of them, except for the woman who was teaching about mycelia and fungi. Fungi, sorry. Fungi.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think my parting question
Mm-hmm.
for this, which we discussed a little bit while we were watching, when you die,
Mm-hmm.
what type of tree
God.
is Dame Judi going to plant for you?
Oh, I didn't quite think that was where you were going to go with this.
Okay, all right, now I know.
Okay.
I think I would have like sort of a softer kind of conifer. I think these are conifers. Larch tree. Do you guys know larch? It's kind of like...
Yeah.
I just think it's pretty, huge, soft. That's what I would pick.
Not the high maintenance dogwood. We've left.
Oh,
left
no, that was a
behind.
joke. I was just like being like, oh yeah, I'm going to be really annoying. Okay. So, like, I think it's like allergies and then there's just shit all year long.
Yeah.
Every year.
I would want her to plant a southern magnolia for me because I think they are just the most magnificent trees. They have gorgeous shiny foliage with like a velvety rust-colored underleaf, and their flowers are gorgeous and they smell like lemons.
I don't want to destroy your dreams here, but is that going to survive in her...
The UK actually has a surprisingly mild climate. Some parts of the UK have warmer winters than we have here. And there is a planting of magnolias along the walk between my apartment and Stevens. And I specifically don't cross the street at one point so that I can walk underneath these instead because it smells kind of like lemon furniture polish.
Oh, no, they're super nice.
Yeah, they're really beautiful.
But aren't those? They like the flowers fall off so quickly and then they rot on the sidewalk.
It is rotting
and
garbage.
Just, like, it's thick and gross.
But I'm not going to be the
It's
one cleaning
worth-
that up if
it's-
she's planted it in my honor.
That's true.
Maybe there are all sorts of insect friends that
Yeah.
can come.
Oh,
Okay.
cool fact
She
about the
liked those.
magnolia. They're an early flowering plant that was basically evolved prior to bees. So their flowers are designed to be pollinated by beetles, which predate bees. Yeah.
So
what
how
about you,
about you?
Emma?
I gave a flippant answer earlier, but I actually don't think I can improve on it. I would have a sugar maple planted because I'm from Vermont.
Yeah, I love
And
those.
they're just beautiful trees and they offer so much.
Yeah,
And
no.
also I spent my early working years at a sugar bush.
Sugar bush? Is
Yeah.
that what they're called?
So a stand of trees that are
Huh.
used to produce
Wow.
maple sugar it's called a sugar bush.
Sugar bush, wow.
And then they collect the sap and then boil it down. So it takes 40 gallons of sap to produce 1 gallon of maple syrup.
Wow. So let's think about the carbon footprint of a gallon of maple
No,
syrup.
you know what? This is her, funeral tree, okay?
Oh, okay, you're right.
But also it depends how you go about boiling the sap.
So you just leave the directions on the sign, okay? It's going to say,
Like, break off my dead branches.
a lot of carving.
Start a
Listen,
fire.
don't
and
boil it
then-
this way. Okay.
Collect all of the detritus under Matthew's magnolia.
So what if you, is Dame Judi, just allowed to do that without asking?
Okay.
Do what?
Who
Do what?
would be
Plant
like...
a tree for you.
Who would
Listen.
object?
A lot of people object to stuff like this.
Dame
So
Judi
there's this
can
thing-
do whatever she wants.
So, okay, and I'm thinking this because I have a friend who grew up Mormon, and they baptize people all the time, like random
Oh,
other
postmortem
people.
baptisms?
Yeah. So do
Yeah.
you want a tree on that, Dame Judi has for you? I mean, I'm okay with it, but I could think of some people that I wouldn't necessarily want them to have a me tree. Maybe.
Here's
Well,
just...
okay, go
well,
ahead.
my hot take is planting a tree is not the same as, assigning you a religion.
True.
And you can't make any choices about what somebody else is going to do, especially after you're dead. So if your worst enemy plants a tree in your honor, you're already dead. You're not going to care. And Judi Dench is not your
I'm
enemy.
not gonna care, yeah. Okay.
What do you think, Emma?
I think that planting trees is a really good thing that we should all be doing at all times with or without any
I do it on my
morbid
lunch break.
fascination or motivation.
So Ivanka can...
If
Plant
Ivanka
trees
wants
for
to
you.
plant trees,
Okay.
praise be, because
And-
that woman should
Yeah.
do something in the world that is not
true.
terrible.
At least she has done one good thing and named it after you.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true.
And
Okay.
as a
I'm convinced.
deeply atheist person, I
convinced now.
just think that my death is my sodium gradients neutralizing, and that I don't really have any. Me stops existing, and I don't have any more.
See, this made us
Opinions.
think. Okay, this documentary made us think.
My family and I have conversations around the dinner table casually, like this is a normal thing that people do, about like our burial plans. Because you don't want to be in the situation where somebody dies and you haven't discussed this.
Yeah, it's good
It's
to
so
just say
important.
it.
Yeah, everyone in my family knows that the plan is dig a hole, put my body in it, plant a magnolia over it.
Yes!
And now Dame
love
Judi
that.
knows too.
Yeah.
I know. I love that we're like the 10th people to learn this. Okay?
Yeah, like actually, this is a well-known thing. I try to make
Yeah.
sure that as many people as I know this, so that no
Okay.
matter where I die,
So
boom.
we're gonna check, okay, to
Yeah.
make sure that Magnolia's there.
And
if
make sure
something
that
should
it's
happen.
like a nice one.
Oh, okay.
Like,
Not like the Monrovia, ultra hybrid.
Yeah,
we
it-
don't know we don't know anything about it. One.
yeah,
Okay.
basically, like send me some suggestions before I die, so that I
Yeah.
can approve or
Got
disapprove. What else can we suss out from this documentary?
I don't know.
I feel like ultimately it was really endearing to watch, but a failure of an educational tree experience.
Yeah. So I think that's it fell on the Judi side of
Yeah.
education or Judi.
But I really resonated with what you said, that it was a really beautiful way to see someone's passion.
And I feel that I share her passion more now than I did prior to watching this.
Yeah,
I
I'm
agree.
gonna take an extra look at some trees or something now, and it sounds like a joke. It's real.
Every tree I walk past on my way home from Stevens this evening, I'm going to just do Judi Dench by having this look of wonder in my eyes as I walk two palms open towards a tree to just plant them on the bark and inhale and go,
Yeah.
oh.
I'm gonna look on eBay for antique medical devices, right? And then I'm gonna listen
to the trees.
Just maybe at midnight.
Yeah.
Okay, just kind of wander the city and do that.
This is a really good thing to do because
Yeah.
it will not stand out at all in Capitol
It
Hill.
really wouldn't.
Yeah.
Oh,
mean,
I definitely walked past somebody smoking meth on my way here.
Hey.
I don't know why that just popped back in my mind.
with that segue.
Anywho,
So I'm going to suggest a segment that we're going to spring on Emma, where we're
Oh,
going to make her
gosh.
watch the cat video just so that we can
Oh no. Okay.
Okay,
wait right now.
yeah, right.
I guess
now.
this is my
Should I
punishment
stop?
for eating so many snacks, huh?
Yeah. So Steven's going to pause, and we're going to torment Emma with this. Okay, so what was your reaction to that, Emma?
It's like an emotional beating.
I mean, I wish that we'd been recording the whole time so we could have had her just yelling the names of the different actors who they were showing throughout it.
There were a lot of screams.
I feel pretty betrayed
Yeah.
By
by
whom?
a lot of things.
Listen, yeah, I saw it a couple weeks ago. I just barely gotten over it.
First of all, I'm pretty upset with Matthew for taking my delightful Judi Dench evening
Yeah.
and turning it into this nightmare.
It's only Monday. We're gonna have to work together the rest of the week.
This is true. Takeaway number 2 is that I wasn't aware that Jason Derulo was still a person.
I
And
know.
he's in
And,
Cats.
but he is, and he's back, and he's in Cats. So that's exciting. I don't know.
Can you imagine the agent going to Judi Dench, Dame Judi Dench, and being like, here's a script for a television, or for a film version of an Andrew Lloyd Webber musical that's the butt of every Broadway joke. And she's like, yes, sign me up.
It's like the only place
Because
she's never been in.
Dame Judi don't have no fucks to give.
Yeah.
She told us in the Tree documentary that her first role was as Ophelia when she was
In Hamlet.
20? Yeah, what an amazing role to start your career. She better not die right after this.
We've been saying
But
that
she
for
also
weeks.
might,
Yeah.
because if something were to end Dame Judi, it might be this.
What?
Or it might be me after watching this trailer.
Do you?
Are you gonna go find her?
No. Do you think?
Well, we've already discussed our plans for
Oh, yeah.
kidnapping. So
We are going to kidnap Judi Dench and make her guest on this podcast. And we're
we'll
gonna...
edit this
Listen,
out.
no. We saw her in that Cats thing. She's been through enough.
Yeah, that's
Okay.
true.
Well,
Also-
maybe she needs some conversion therapy. Of
Conversion to what?
to back to Dame Judi
Yeah.
therapy.
Okay.
We just have to show her a couple of her movies. Yeah.
Mhm.
Like, do you remember who you are?
Yeah.
What would that playlist be?
I don't even know.
I mean,
there's a
she's
lot.
been in so many
I
things.
know.
I
think
have to
that, honestly,
say,
the new Pride and Prejudice, that was
I
a good
love-
I was just
short
gonna say,
role.
So
yeah.
I think the whole my one disappointment with this documentary was
Mhm.
that the cinematography was not done by the dude who did Pride and Prejudice,
Yeah.
which is one of the most beautiful, like visually beautiful movies I have ever seen.
Mhm.
It is stunning, and I associate Dame Judi so deeply with that style.
It's a perfect role for her, I think.
I absolutely agree.
I am
So we
gonna
just need
say
to like
though,
immerse her in that.
yeah, her turn as Lady Catherine du Bourgh in Pride and Prejudice was good, but I really love the performance of the woman who did it in the 1990s BBC
Really?
miniseries. Yes, Mr. Collins was so good in that. Actually, like, this is a different podcast.
It's just a religious
episode.
difference. I mean,
Yeah.
I saw that one recently, and I'm just like...
My family and I regularly quote that movie.
Really? No, I just feel like I'm with the newer version now. I know it's short, I know, like, but it's so...
Yeah.
Everything
you.
punches like a 10, whatever they cover, I feel like.
What was so good about it was that they really showed a much more accurate version of what life was like. Like, Jennifer Ely was like 15 years too old to play Lizzie Bennet. Like, that was fine. But Keira Knightley was so joyful and youthful. Their house was like filthy like it would have been. Yeah.
Yeah, and I don't know. So my question here too is like, do you think Dame Judi, to sort of bring it back to the tree thing, do you think she has a tree picked? Is she gonna have a tree? I feel like yes.
I feel like yes.
What tree would you
What-
plant in her memory?
What do you think she's chosen? Maybe that special conifer?
The yew?
Was that just what it was? I thought that was like it was a certain kind, right? Whatever.
I don't know.
Okay.
They didn't go into that much.
What would she? I mean, I don't know what I would choose for her, but
I
I
would
bet that she
personally-
has something, and
I-
I bet that
I would
she has something in
maybe-
mind, and probably like a place.
They did just kind of show the way that she planted the trees that were gifted to her. Like, they just went like 12 feet away from where they stood when they presented them to her and dug a hole and
Or, you
just
know what?
planted them
Yeah,
in the lawn.
maybe this is something we should like tweet her. Okay, maybe she would answer it.
Do you think that she tweets?
Probably not, but someone will
Maybe
tweet
her
for
people
her.
does.
Yeah,
I would like to try that.
someone's holding her hand right now, tweeting. Okay.
What
Yeah,
about
that's
wait?
what-
But we have to put wagers down.
Okay, I'm gonna say it's an oak because like Sherwood Forest, Robin Hood, like England has this huge thing with oak trees. I think she is so iconic and so stately in the British arts that she needs something that would carry that same magnitude. Oh, before we move on to you sharing what you would plant, I want to share about the way that they talked about boats that were made.
Ooh, yeah.
Yeah, so this was another thing that we learned. There were actually like 3 things that we learned, it looks like. They had a ship that was built in the 16th century. It was one of King something's.
Henry VIII, I thought.
Okay, so Henry VIII had this warship, is that right? And it was constructed from 600 oak trees and elm trees. And back when it was made, they had so many, like, you know, original virgin oaks that had never been replanted. They were the oaks that started when there were people there. That they were able to actually, like, use the natural forking of the wood, like, the whole tree, to construct the hull of the ship. So they didn't have to really do much to woodwork it into a ship shape. They just found trees that were shaped like they needed for it, which was mind-blowing and super cool. They called it a forest of a ship or a floating forest.
They had
Yeah,
all
I don't think
sorts of-
that was. I don't think that's what it's really referred to as. I think that's just that one British dude.
think
Especially
he
the way
was
that we
saying
saw
it.
it, it looked like
It was-
driftwood that was put
It was
together.
pretty.
So they had salvaged that wreck
Yeah.
off of the bottom of the ocean.
Yeah, like
So
half of the
it
hull had
was
been
missing.
eroded.
And
away.
I think that didn't particularly belong in it, honestly.
No, it was a little weird,
It's
but it was so
strange and-
cool. I didn't realize that they made ships using like a whole tree that they would just kind of.
Yeah, instead of so there was no joinery
Yeah.
to create the
Like the
U
cross
shape
section
of
Yeah.
the boat. It was just the
Yeah.
natural
I just feel like
forking.
that was more, Dame Judy reaction bait, right? Like they wanted to hear her go like, or like,
They did.
oh, or whatever.
Yeah.
I'm not capturing it at all. It's like elegant and sort of like we were saying you could project any emotion onto it, right? That you wanted,
Yeah.
but you were
Highly
like, oh,
meaningful.
she likes this, I think.
Yeah. She was definitely like having some thoughts.
So she was feeling the boat
Yeah.
in that sense. Okay. She was reacting.
Okay, so what tree would you plant in her memory?
So I think I would plant an elm
Okay.
for Dame Judy for many of the same reasons that you stated, in that she is fundamental to the British arts, is very dignified, but also she's like, she's a little different. She's got a little spice to her. I think that like the oak is a little too mainstream,
Okay.
and I think that she's dignified, but with some pizzazz, a little bit alternative, I would say.
Okay, I like that answer.
Okay, so you guys took all of them.
We took the two
I'm
trees
just
that
gonna
there
go.
are.
Yeah, but I mean, what else is there? The U. I mean, meh. I would say I'm gonna have to say like she has to be the fungi, and I'm just gonna have
That's
people
literally
seed
not
fungi.
even a plant.
Okay, it's fine. Just seed the fungi, and then like once a year, people are gonna come check on the fungi and just make sure it's okay. It's helping all the trees communicate. Okay, isn't that beautiful?
She is helping the trees communicate by making a documentary that's only tangentially about them.
But,
I
like,
wonder who made this.
is
Just
it-
leave that. You know what?
Relationships are only ever tangentially about the other person.
That's true. Wow.
Bam.
Aren't you so glad you invited me over?
Yeah, like how meta can we get?
Like, can wine be delivered?
let's
In
just
Seattle, yes.
let's just like Uber Eats some wine.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah. Well, okay, so this has been really interesting. I would have never watched this necessarily had it not been recommended. And for those of our listeners who want to watch this, good luck. It's hard to find. I downloaded it from a website that I can tweet so that you have it available. But
Yeah, you can just maybe like get the IMDb page or something, right?
that
for
doesn't
this.
help. Yeah, like go to the IMDb
At
page.
least you can know what you're looking for.
Yeah, but there's like no information on it, not even the runtime, which is like 58 minutes. But it is something that if you happen to be an educator or an instructor, if you have your school email, you should be able to log in and access it for free because it's a PBS documentary. I wish that this was more widely available because it's a short, easy thing to put on when you're folding laundry and just want some delightful British wonder in your life.
Also, I think that it would be, like, I think a lot of people of very different ages would find it pleasing. And I think if you're not particularly knowledgeable about trees, it might be more educational than it was for you two, who know a lot about stuff.
Well, and we did learn some things. It's just none of them were what I thought we would learn.
Okay, so in the words of Matthew, right, a show to fold laundry to.
Okay, I watch a lot of shows while I'm folding laundry, and that doesn't mean that they're bad.
Okay.
You know what was bad, though? The last show that I folded laundry to was that Katie Sackhoff thing on
was it?
Netflix.
Oh,
it was not
that's
good.
too
What
bad.
was that?
It's called Another Life. Steven and I want to have an episode that has nothing to do with plants where we just talk about television and movies.
Almost like this. Almost.
Basically like this.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
we just
close.
won't make an unsuspecting friend watch it with us first.
I mean, I feel like I was pretty well appraised of what I was getting myself into.
She did
but-
recommend this topic. So, thank you for recommending this topic.
You will never be invited back again.
Well,
No.
we definitely feel like we might need to give you some cuttings of things to see how they do. So, like, maybe if we can get you to be, like, a little bit of a plant daddy, like, maybe you can come back and tell us how those
Non-consensual
things
plant
are...
person. Okay,
Yeah.
from now on, right? Just gonna show up.
Sure.
You'll just have, like, cuttings, like, put on your
We'll
desk
just say
at
we're
work.
like, okay, this is endangered. All right, don't
Yeah.
let it die. Something like
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. I mean, I'm game for whatever you want to throw my way, as
Yeah.
long as
You're not busy at all. with like
No.
all of the things you do. So
I mean, as long as they can go like a couple weeks without being watered.
45 minutes of sleep, etc.
Yeah.
She's
Everything's
fine.
water the
fine.
plant every 3 hours.
Yeah, that's right. He'll die.
Yeah. Well, yeah, so thank you very much for joining us and for being our first woman on the podcast.
Well,
Okay,
thank
we
you
did it. We did
so
it within
much.
10. I think that was like.
What was this like our diversity guest?
No, it wasn't in my mind.
It wasn't in mine either.
I'm just
If
saying we
I'm
did it within
representing
10
your
episodes.
diversity friends, like you got
I know.
bigger problems.
Okay.
White chick from Vermont.
God.
A.
Okay.
I know, and it's
you know
like
what?
being queer on your show doesn't even count as diversity.
We should-
so-
Right.
We should have cut. We should have cut it off when
Oh,
the
wait,
cats
well, we didn't
trailer
ask you any
came
questions about like how you identify as a human being. Do you want that to be your closing?
off. Oh my god. That's terrible. No. No.
We
Okay.
can
I
edit
am
this.
cutting this off. It's been great. And everyone check out the
I
documentary.
need to do the outro.
Okay.
Okay. Anything else we want to say before we wrap up?
No.
Okay. Steven's adamant that this is the
God.
end. So this has been Plant Daddy Podcast. Thank you so much for listening, and don't forget to like and subscribe, all that stuff. If you enjoy what you heard, give us a 5-star rating, please, and tell your friends. If you want to be in touch, please email us at plantdaddypodcast@gmail.com or check us out on social media, all of which can be found at Plant Daddy Podcast. So we're looking forward to you tuning in next time. And we hope that you have a chance to check out this documentary so that you can revel in Judi Dench as much as we did. Yeah, it was enjoyable. Bring wine.
All right. Thanks.
Bye.